folks, welcome back to the Flipside. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And if you came over here from the Dice Tower because you just got through watching our bottom 5 of 2014, welcome. This is going to be our top 5, numbers 5 through 1 of games from the year 2014. So, how was this year compared to others that we've done?
This year was really good.
Really good.
Really good. Yep.
Really good. Like capital R-E-A.
Well, that's right.
Really good. It was
So we're looking up. Hopefully the next, we're getting, into the new era. We're out of the classics
think
now.
We're going to start tracking upwards now?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so, at least for the majority.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe not every year.
We'll
but.
see. I know I did have to go 11 pages in before I hit those NAs, those non-ranked games. So there's just under 1,100 ranked games from this year.
Yep.
That's pretty daggum good.
Like I said in the other video, we had 57 games in the top 1,000 on BGG. So that smashed our last record of 46.
Wow. That's something else. So this definitely was a good year on the whole.
Yes.
Whether it was a good year for us or you.
It was a good year.
That remains to be seen. So, let's go ahead and get to it. Our top 5 games from 2014. Let's hit it. All right, so my number 5. So, you said that we're going to have some crossovers.
Yep.
And we already had one
You're
crossover.
not staring at my list. I trust you.
We already had... No, I'm not staring. I'm looking over there.
Yeah.
Number 5, for me, I don't think it's going to be a crossover.
Okay.
I don't think you've played it.
Oh.
Maybe you have. I can't remember.
It must have been one of the bad games of the year.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the good games.
Number
That's why
5.
Number 5. Top 5. This one's called Run, Fight, or Die.
Haven't played it.
Huh?
Haven't played it.
I didn't think you have.
We've talked about this.
This has been republished recently by... Well, more recently than this. This is the first year that this game came out. And it's been republished by Gray Fox Games, and they've come out with a basically a prettier version of the game. They have different graphics, different artwork, but it's the same game generally speaking. I really enjoy this game. So basically, you each have your own little corridor that you're having to defend from of the zombies. So you have a far away, a mid range, and then a short range, and zombies can be tracking down towards that, and you're trying to keep them at bay. But on top of that, we are cooperatively trying to beat the boss that's in the middle of the table as well. So you're having to, okay, do I have time to kind of let them creep a little bit closer before I start attacking them so I can attack the guy a little bit? It's just a very fun dice rolling game. That's the main mechanism. You're rolling dice. You're trying to get certain things. Baseball bats will knock dudes out. In the middle, guns will knock things out in the middle, and the short range for the bats, guns for the middle, and then I can't remember what the last one is, but
sniper rifle.
It's I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long, but it's a very fun game. Richard Lonius is the designer. He's a great guy. And he makes games that are like super thematic, but also mechanically simple.
Is that a Yahtzee style game where you get 3 rolls, or you just get to keep going? Or
no, I'm pretty sure it is. A lot of those kinds of Yahtzee style rolling, so you can pick what you want to keep and all of that kind of thing. But it's really fun, and it's fast paced as well. It has different characters. You can be different characters that have different abilities, and on it's just very fun. So thematic, and I really enjoyed it. That's my number 5. Run, Fight, or Die.
I will. If there's zombies. If there's zombies.
I don't have to be the fastest.
I'm going to do one of those 3 things. Probably 2 of those 3 things. All right, my number 5. I had such a good time in the 2014 list, actually, that I had to put this one in there. My wife hates it with a passion. I know some people either love it but it kind of floats under the radar, I think, a little bit, or it got pushed down. Maybe you'll probably actually have an opinion on it. But my number 5 is a game called Dice Masters. Dice Masters from Eric Lang and WizKids. Great game where this is your collectible card game with dice, where you're collecting different packs of different heroes, and they each have their own little dice with them. and you're creating your own group of heroes and their dice, and then you're fighting 1v1 against somebody else.
Pulling your dice out of a bag.
Pulling your dice out of a bag and rolling so many and trying to get the Hulk out there, with his big hits or whatever else, keeping some back for defense. But it's a really fun game, and I really love the little dice for all the different characters and the way that all the different characters work together and stuff like that. Melissa doesn't like this one so much.
It's one of those things where, and I enjoy the game a lot, but it has that thing where, first of all, grabbing dice out of a bag, I don't like that random factor of not knowing which dice you're going to be able to get. That kind of thing. I don't like that. That's one of the main things one of the main strikes against the game for me. However, I did enjoy the game. It is a very fun game, but I can definitely see how it would frustrate people because you have less control over what you actually can do. You're just kind of restricted to the dice that that you pull. But it is a fun game, but it had more fiddly stuff to it than the other dice games that I have in my
Well, I think the thing that makes this one different than all the other dice games that I've ever played, at least, is the fact that just like in Magic the Gathering or whatever, you're pre-building your group of heroes and your dice pool prior to going into the battle. So, within the rules allotted. But, and that's kind of the cool thing, because you get to pick and choose who you want to use and see how it works.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I still have I still have some sets at home and a nice little dice carrier. There's some pretty cool accessories that go along with it.
Yep. It's very cool. All right, well done. All right, my number 4 is another crossover with the other list that Homie had on his side of it, and it is a little bluffing social deduction game called Sheriff of Nottingham.
Indeed.
Such a fun game. If you can't enjoy this game, I don't know that you can enjoy games on the level that I enjoy games.
That might be true. I hear that.
This is such a fun game, but you really have to lean into
You have to play the game.
theme.
Yeah. You have to be present and play.
No, you're not playing the mechanisms. You're playing the game.
Yep.
And I love it. It's such a... if when you're the sheriff, you just have to be the sheriff. Like, don't trust anybody. You have to think everybody is trying to get something over on you. And then you've got to make them pay. If they don't want you to open up your little their satchel, they better pay you something.
Yep.
Otherwise, your satchel's getting opened. That's the kind of stuff. I mean, just talking
I know how to play with him. No, I'm just kidding. Sweet.
I'm going to switch it up.
I'm in.
But Sheriff of Nottingham is such a fun game, and it's so thematic is the only word. It's so, you've got to role play. You've got to role play in Sheriff of Nottingham. If you don't, you're missing the point. That's the way I feel about it.
My sister Leah is really wholesome and soft-hearted and everything else, and she's the one where she's like, oh, I don't know, I want to check anybody's thing, and so everybody takes something through, and then everybody gives her crap, like, why didn't you check their thing, So the next time around, she's like, I'm going to check everybody's thing, and she opens them all up, and half of them are right, It's just like...
The cool thing about this game, and this is what I tell people a lot, I don't like lying in games.
Yeah.
You don't have to lie in this game. You just have to... You can win. I've watched many people win by
just
not
telling
lying
the truth
at all, just telling the truth. And it's just one of those games where you don't have to lie, but it can be so fun to do so.
Yep.
So that's my number 4, the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yep. Good pick. All right. My number 4 is another crossover, a little 2-player card game, and it is a 2-player card game called Star Realms.
You can play it with more than 2.
You can play it with more than 2.
But it's 2-player card.
There is only one way to play it with more than 2, in my opinion. There are bosses that you can fight with 4 players, with 2, 3, or 4 players, whatever. There's only one of those bosses worth fighting, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's one that grows these tentacle arms depending on which color of cards you play out, and you're trying to destroy those back. That one is super fun with whatever player count you want. But that's the only one. Other than that, it's a 2-player card game. Head-to-head, 50 points. You just smash the other person's points until they lose.
Yep.
And then you start over and play again, whatever you want to do. But
it's a game that can be played with more than 2, but it's a 2-player card.
Yep,
That's
for
how
sure.
It's designed.
And I would suggest, like a lot of 2-player card games, honestly, like the first thing I did when I got the main pack, however many years ago, then I went and got the 2 expansion ones, which are just as big as the main one, but now you have this many cards for a 2-player card game. If you're going to mix all those together, which I do, go buy one single original pack or other pack so you can have it for travel, so that you can keep your big set at home, because then it's no fun for traveling anymore. So
That's true.
my son has the entire, with all of the cards that are foil.
Oh, wow.
The whole freaking whatever Nova collection or whatever it's called.
That's cool.
I didn't get that, but
You didn't?
nope. But Star Realms is a fun little game.
Very good game. Worthy crossover. All right, my number 3. My number 3 is another crossover.
Surprise!
I lied.
I know.
Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. I could not keep this off my list. There's just no way, shape, or form. It was going to be either in the top or the bottom, and I almost knew right off the bat that it was going to be in the top, because it's that great of a game. There is, and I will say that I have the Undercover Allies version, the expansion, and I think it's a necessary. I think it's a necessary addition.
Fair. I think so. You're probably right.
I don't think you have to have it, but if you really like Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, Undercover Allies is something you should get.
You probably need that extra variability. This is a game which is super fun, but you don't want to play it all night long either. You want to play it a few times and then go to something else, because by the time you're on, if you get too many times in, everybody's already got all their preconceived notions, and and then it becomes actually more convoluted.
It becomes a mess.
Yeah. So
there is a way. I believe the rules state that you're supposed to, the person who's giving the clues you're supposed to go order by order.
Yep.
That kind of, for me, that kind of kills the mood and the vibe of the game a little bit too much. I usually, instead of going one by one, it's just like an open forum. Okay, it's your turn to speak. Somebody else says, okay, my turn. And then they say something. We don't necessarily go in order. Everybody has a chance to say
for the conversation?
Yeah, for the conversation.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I've ever played it in specific order.
Yeah.
I think you have to, I see what you're saying.
It's just, it's more of an open forum than you go. I think that's the better way to play it. But it's really fun, super fun, and like I said in the other list, this is one of the games where I push people to get as.
I'm sorry.
There we go. You want to get
once every video. For
exactly right. You want to get as many of as close to the max player count as you can. With willing participants, okay? Don't make people play the game if they don't want to, but if you get as many people in as you possibly can, that's where the game is the most fun. So I really enjoy it.
I've never seen a game. This is one of those games, for some reason or another, at least in my experience, where the whole group will be talking about the correct murder weapon and the correct item all the way up to the very end, and then they'll guess something else. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, I just freaking...
You had
it. You had it, for the last 25... whatever, you had it.
Yep.
And then they'll switch.
Yep.
And as the person giving the clues, you're just like...
Yeah, yep, exactly. Well, in Undercover Allies, the forensic scientist, the guy who's giving the clues, can actually, halfway through the game, change sides.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
He can actually start working for the accomplice in the murder.
I don't know. That seems really bad. That's a rear window kind of thing.
As my number 3, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, preferably with the Undercover Allies expansion.
All right. My number 3 is one of my wife's favorite games of all time. This is a game that will be in our collection for eternity and back.
Eternity back.
Yep. And that is a game called Roll for the Galaxy. My Rio Grande Games.
I knew this was going to be on
Roll for the Galaxy is such a great game. This is a game that we can just pop out and play anytime. And once you know what you're doing, you're just playing through. You're creating a galaxy or a tableau of 12 different planets or technologies, and that's what ends the game. You're shipping goods, you're doing all these things, but when you roll your dice, you have different actions that you can place your dice in, and you get an action out of the 6 actions that's guaranteed, and the other people, they get to guarantee what actions they want, and then everybody has to stick to those actions for that round. It's a really fun game. I will say it's a much more difficult teach than you would think it would be. My wife thinks this is a gateway game for some reason. She does. She thinks this is the easiest game in the world. Like, everybody should know it. But
yeah, it's because she's played it so much.
But she's played it 10,000 times. Right. But Roll for the Galaxy is a great game.
If you already have played Race for the Galaxy, it's an easy teach.
Sure.
But if you haven't played Race for the Galaxy, there's a lot of explaining you have to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of explaining you have to do.
There's a lot of procedure, I think, that has to happen within the game that you'd have to explain if you haven't played Race for the Galaxy.
Yeah, but it's a great game. It's all these cool different colored dice, Each of the colored dice has different ones of those, or different ratios of the 6 actions that can be taken on their sides. And so, it's a really cool puzzle.
It's a good pick. That was where was it? My number 15.
Nice.
My number 15 for the year. That
Fair.
was not bad.
She's going to kill me because it was at 3.
My number 2 is another 2-player game. How many have I had of these? 1, 2. I guess that's it.
If it's a 2-player Yahtzee game, then you're really on a roll.
Negative.
Oh.
No, it's not a 2-player Yahtzee game. This would be a game that I would say if somebody likes chess, but that's the only real foray into board gaming that they've had, this would be a good next step for you to play with a chess player, and it is called Onitama.
Yep.
Really good 2-player game. Maybe chess or checkers. It doesn't really have a whole lot of differentiation on how many moves you can make in the game, which would differentiate it from chess. But I think maybe somewhere in between chess and checkers. If you have somebody that's like that, this is perfect for their next step. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good...
You only have 5 moves that you're going to be making, and any one of your pieces are able to make those 5 moves. But the cool thing is that you start with 2 of them, and your opponent starts with 2 of them, and the 5th one is off to the side. One person is chosen to go first based on that 5th card that's out there, one of the colors on it. And they have to use one of the 2 moves that's in front of them. And when they use that move, they swap it with that 5th move that's out there. And now that becomes then, and the one that they use is the one that's out there. Then the next person has to choose one of their 2, and they'll swap that one with the one that's out there. And so the same 5 moves are revolving throughout the entire game. Basically, you have to get your sensei onto the other sensei's position, starting position, or you have to take out the other person's sensei. Those are the 2 ways that you win the game. But you only have those 5 moves that are revolving throughout the entirety of the game. And
the board is small.
Board is super small.
No, we're not talking.
We're not talking about a large area. We're talking about a very concentrated area. It's so fun. And it's so tactical.
It's extremely tactical.
It's so fun. And
you can give them the card that they need to whoop you.
So. Oh, that's exactly what you do, because you're both using the same 5 moves. So it's literally, how can you outsmart your opponent? Using the same moves that they're moving.
100%.
So it's a great 2-player game. And it's one of those games where you can just play. And what I usually do when I'm doing it that way is we set the 5 moves that we used on this game, we set those aside, and we draw 5 more.
Yeah.
And we play another game.
Nice.
And you've got 4 or 5 different games right in a row. It's just
different moves you have to use.
My number 2, Onitama.
No, it's a good pick. It's a really good pick. probably my 11 or 12 there. But
Y'all.
Yep, very nice. My number 2 is Run, Fight, or Die mixed with The Walking Dead, called The Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter.
Because you were still running, fighting, and dying. Mm-hmm. In The Dead of Winter, you have your little compound, you have whatever your scenario is. You're having to send your people out to the grocery store and the library and everything else, trying to collect cards, which cards have food on them or gasoline on them or whatever else on them, and bring them back to fulfill whatever you need to do to keep your people fed every round.
This is 10 years old.
Yep.
My goodness.
Yeah, what a fantastic game. It does have that hidden trader. Everybody has a hidden role. It may not be hidden trader, but I might be the person that's a hoarder. I might be the person that's freaked out about having food, and I can play that character. I like that, honestly, because if you get a card that says your character really wants to hoard food because they're worried about starving, it's not hard to get in the mindset of somebody that's like, oh, I need to hoard food, and people are like, well, everybody needs to put in food for today so we can eat, and you're like,
I don't wanna.
Yeah, exactly, And then you got to clean up the junk. You got to keep the zombies off the buildings. You got to do all these kind of things.
You can play without
completely cooperative.
You can play completely cooperative.
But even when you play completely cooperative, you still have your personal goals.
Yeah.
You just don't have a trader that's actually working against the group.
Right.
But even then, you still have your personal goals, which still makes it can make it tense. Yep. So I really love Dead of Winter. I love the theme of it. Yep. And then just the way it plays out. And then it has these cards, the crossroad cards, that give a little scenario or a little story to what's going on right now that you have to choose, sometimes between two not very good choices.
Yeah.
Really simulates that and keeps you in the mood or keeps you in that theme. So
if you had 2 weevils on a plate,
and
you had to eat one of them, which would you choose?
I'd eat them both.
No.
Why?
You choose the lesser of 2 weevils.
Oh, lesser of 2 weevils. Okay, fair. I'd eat them both.
That's what the crossroad system feels like. You have to choose the lesser of 2
That's
weevils.
right.
My number 1, and everything that he just said is absolutely true. Dead of Winter.
Your number 1 is Dead of Winter? I'll be darned.
Yes,
nice.
Absolutely. This is by far and away, I think, the best game of this year. I super enjoyed this game, and I wanted an expansion, and the expansion went in a direction that I didn't want it to go in. They kept going in that direction.
Yeah.
They came up with this evil company, Raxon, and they made that tried to make it feel like the Stars.
Of the Resident Evil type of scenario.
And I was just like, no, that's not what I wanted you to do. I just didn't like that expansion very much. I really enjoyed the core game a lot. Those Crossroads cards were amazing.
Yep.
I loved the thematic flair that they threw into the game. Just with that simple, when you go out somewhere, you have to turn over one of these cards and make a choice.
Well, I think those Crossroads cards have led into all of these campaign games having the event cards, every single one of them.
And you have to read them and make a choice. That's exactly.
And even the ones that are on the apps now are like, here's your scenario. What do you want to do? Do you want to drink the water from the crazy-looking halfling? What do you want to do?
Of
course I do.
What else could happen? What bad could come of that?
Anyways, very nice.
My number 1, easy pick. This was one of those. Sometimes I start at 10 and I work my way to 1. This was definite. That went in first. I knew this was going to be my number 1. So, Dead of Winter, my number 1, a Crossroads game.
I think the same thing on my 1, 2, and 3. I think I put them right down on the paper, and that was it. My number 1 is a game where you're under the ocean trying to influence oceanic dungeon under the sea. What is the word for it? Water Lords. I wasn't going to say Demon Lords. It's not Demon Lords. But it is. Abyss.
Yes.
Abyss by Bombex. This is a fantastic game.
Beautiful game as well.
Gorgeous game. Fun to play. It's really just set collection, and you're turning those sets in to get these lords. And the lords will give you special powers. They'll also give you keys. If you get get 3 keys, you can get a region or a land, an underland area that will give you a different power. The trick is when you do that, every one of the lords that goes to that land, you lose the power of all of them. But you gain points and you gain different powers, and so it's just a really cool balancing act as you go. And really you're going to get 7 dungeon lords. The expansions are both really good. One of the expansions adds black pearls, which are negative points. And they're hard to get rid of sometimes. And you can't get rid of them until you're out of white pearls, so you have to spend your white pearls down before you can spend your black pearls. So you have to really think that through. But and then the last expansion changes out some of the monster stuff. It changes the monsters that are in the original deck to a Leviathan track, to where you actually have to fight monsters. And if you, it's awesome. And if you fail to attack a monster, then you roll these 2 dice. And if you hit a monster that's already on this track, which is 2 through 12, so there's a possibility of 12 different monsters. If you hit one of those, they're going to do a negative effect to you. And those negative effects are definitely not good. If you hit something else, when you're not trying to fight them, you'll bring out another monster and make that track filled up with more of these monsters you have to fight. So it's just a really great game. The mechanism of buying cards when you're set collecting, but as you set collect off of the deck, you flip over a card. Everybody else on the table gets a chance to buy it before you get to have it. So you're getting pearls from them, but you're losing the cards you need sometimes. So there's just a lot of different mechanisms in it. It's a beautiful game. Super fun.
Good game.
Love Abyss.
Good game. Well done. All right. Well, that is our top 5 games from 2014. If you haven't gone and check it out yet, you can go over there to the Dice Tower. That's where our bottom 5, that's the numbers 10 through 6 of this particular list from 2014, resides. You can go check that out. But that's it from us. Thank you for joining us. We certainly appreciate your time. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
And see you later.